for those of you that are like on the fence about it, or are totally into it, you know who Eric Dubay is. Eric Dubay is like the godfather of the modern day flat Earth movement, because some people think the flat Earth is like something, it's brand new, and the last time it was believed in was just by really dumb religious people back in the caveman days. That's what people believe. That's what I believe. Like flat Earth. I mean, that just dumb religious people from 2,000 years believe that. It's in the Bible. Yeah, in the Bible, that's not true. It's anything in the Bible is like Jack and Jill stories. So that's what most people think. But what the reality is, there's always been scientific debates about the shape of the Earth, whether it's round, whether it's stationary, whether it's a flat plane, whether it's moving, at 60,000 miles per hour around the sun, and the sun is moving 600,000 miles around the center of the galaxy. All that shit. Whatever you believe, it's faith-based when it comes to space, because whether the Earth is really round and the stars are really what they claim to be, and the stars are really as far apart as they claim to have figured out, all that, you just got to take someone's word for it. I mean, that's all faith-based, because you can't figure that shit out on your own. So it's just as faith-based as believing in the Bible. Believing that someone actually had a vision, that God came down and gave him instructions to do something, and then these stories were written, and then people follow this like a cult. That's all faith-based. You got to believe that this guy really had God come to him. I mean, that's faith, and that's cool. If you want to believe that, that's cool. People believe it. It's better than, being atheist, I guess. I don't know. But it's faith-based. And when you're talking about anything in space, unless you figured it out, you got to take someone's word for it. So that's faith-based. And again, Eric Dubay, he's not doing anything new. He's basically quoting authors that have written books about the flat Earth forever. There's been a giant scientific debate at the top about whether the Earth spins, whether it's a plane, whether it's round, how far the sun is away from us, what is the moon, what is the sun, what are the stars. There's all these theories and debates, and Eric, and I wanted to do another podcast on flat Earth, and I asked Eric, like, who impresses him the most, who is the most legit of the flat Earth host out there. There's a bunch on YouTube. I like going to Odd Reality and watching their 24/7 live stream of flat Earth stuff. I do that almost every day. I get on Odd Reality and watch it 24/7. It's very entertaining. You're constantly, it's like a mixtape. It's a mixtape of flat Earth. Very entertaining. It's good to hear certain videos over and over again, so you don't remember. There's just so much information. You got to listen to it over and over, otherwise you forget. And it's very entertaining. I'm very entertained on how you control the masses. I like that. I'm like, wow, the masses are easily controlled. Oh, so easily. All you got to do is control the media and the science and history, and boom, it's a no-brainer. So easy, so easy. So I'm fascinated with how we're fooled and how people are lied to, and I'm it infuriates me too when you start thinking about all the fucking crazy sick shit, like all the pedophilia that's going on at the top with the elite, and the kidnappings, and no one looks into any kidnapping. People just get kidnapped, and no one even looks into it.
I never looked into that till after I started looking at flat Earth.
Yeah,
that led me to that stuff.
Yeah, so that at the top, what's holding everything together, what's holding the corruption together at the top is blackmail, is pedophilia, blackmail. That's what's holding everything together, and it's scary. That's scary shit. So you got to watch your kids.
Weed is holding me together.
You got to put GPS on your kids, guys. You got to get some kind of GPS little toe ring on your kids, because there's people out there kidnapping them and putting them into child sex trafficking rings. Look at that documentary, Who Took Johnny? Watch that shit, and then watch Conspiracy of Silence. Watch that shit. Holy fuck. Anyways, so Eric Dubay, he couple times he's brought up Del from the YouTube channel Beyond the Imaginary Curve. He's brought him up, and I remember going through YouTube once and looking at one of his videos, and he's got a heavy Scottish accent. So, and it's very, my English isn't that good, you know, and I'm not very smart. So it's very, sometimes it's hard to follow him when, you know, the audio is not that good. But Eric Dubé kept recommending him. He goes, this is the real deal. This guy's the best out there. And then I go, okay. So I started looking at his videos, and man, I'm hooked on Beyond the Imaginary Curve as well. Del comes at you with the no nonsense approach, no graphics, you know, low budget production. He just puts Flat Earth together so beautifully, and his specialty is just going out on the streets and just talking to random people about about Flat Earth and what they think we live on. And man, his interviews are so entertaining because he's just taking people off the street, just like you and me. He goes to universities and interviews professors and students that have no idea. They just think he's a guy with a camera. And when you have a camera on somebody, you know, they know it's being videotaped, so their ego doesn't come out as much. So it's actually easier to talk to them because, you know, you got them on film and they don't want to seem dumb. And the way Del puts it all together, these interviews, he's a master. He's generally, people at the end of his interviews, they're going to become flat earthers. You could just tell they're right there. They were on the fence maybe, and the way Del interviews him is just it's addicting. I love watching it. I was watching it last night. I'm like, dude, no wonder Eric Dubé kept recommending him. And so I'm going to introduce him now. And his partner is from the UK. His name is Gav, and they work to. Del, are you there? Can you hear me, Del?
Yeah. You ready?
How you doing, Del?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks. How are you?
Are you in Glasgow?
Yeah, I'm in Paisley, which is just 5 minutes outside Glasgow. Yeah.
I got a 10th Planet Glasgow. You should go in there, learn some jiu-jitsu. You might have to if the CIA comes after you. You better learn that jiu-jitsu. Seriously. Hey, Del, if you want to do jiu-jitsu, are you close to Glasgow? Did you say you?
Yeah.
Man,
yeah, I'm just along the road. Yeah.
That would be awesome, man. I'll hook it up. I'll hook you all up.
I'll show you some deep half guard. No. Oh my.
Are you a UFC fan at all, Del?
Yeah, I watch it. Yeah.
So what do you think of the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight? Are you interested in that at all? Or not really?
Yeah, I'm interested in it, but I think it's a bit of a mismatch, to be honest with you. But who knows? Who knows?
And can you introduce Gavin? You tell me a little bit about Gavin. Is he a partner in Imaginary Curve, or what's going on?
Yeah, Gav came to the platform offering his expertise. I mean, Gav's there. You want to let people know, but yeah.
Hey, Gav. Can you hear us, Gav?
Yeah, I can. Hi, Eddie.
How you doing? I apologize for not knowing that much about you, Gav. But Eric Dubé also recommended you, and then Del asked me if you could come on. Wait a minute, I asked you to be on first, though, right, Gav? Is that what? My head's exploding. I barely remember what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think it matters much. Yeah, we're both here now, so.
Okay. So let's get back to Del first. I want you to tell us about how you got turned on to Flat Earth and what made you start questioning. What was the process with you?
I think the initial process before I got into Flat Earth was I was kind of involved with the whole creationism, evolution debates, and also, in regards to what consciousness is, so like the mind-body problem. And through, kind of studying and learning these two subjects, I started to realise that science was pretty much based in a kind of philosophical, religious stance, if you like, which is something known as philosophical materialism. And I started to recognise patterns through that were pretty much faith-based. I started to realise things that I had taken for granted, that I'd taken on faith and assumed to be true, until I started, really delving into it. And, from that, it just kind of led in. I'm not sure, I think I seen a video, and that kind of led on to Eric's 200 proofs. And from there, I just kind of, carried on the process. So it was the evolution creationism coupled with the mind body question, which led me to some realizations, and then into this subject. You know,
And then you mentioned Eric Dubé's video 200 proofs that the world is flat, right? That one? Or the
there's 200 proofs the Earth's not a globe.
Oh, okay. That's a great one to start with. I think the best flat Earth introductory video, in my opinion, I always send people the history of flat Earth from Eric Dubé. I think that one it gets right into what people really thought about the world and the flat Earth maps and all that, hundreds of years ago. When if you don't really get a quick lesson in that, I think that people like myself, I just thought the only people that thought the world was flat were just dumb religious people who didn't know anything. I never realized that in the scientific community, it was always a big debate. It was going back and forth. Never really. Once you realize that, and that that flat Earth is not a new thing. It's always been around. It kind of just took a hiatus for a little while. Once you realize that, then especially if you're already a conspiracy theorist, because if you're already like a 9/11 guy or just your average conspiracy theorist, you're used to the fact that you're being lied to all the time. But most of them, myself included, I didn't think, okay, they're not lying about that. They lie about everything, but why would they lie about the shape of the Earth? There's pictures and stuff everywhere, And once I realized that NASA, because I never believed that we went to the moon. I mean, maybe when I was a kid, but I've been a moon hoax guy forever, and there's no way you're going to convince me we went to the moon. So once I realized that NASA, because I knew NASA couldn't be trusted, but once I realized that NASA's really the one controlling all the cosmology information, that's when I started going, because when I was looking for pictures of Earth from space on the internet, they were coming from the NASA.gov website. So really quick, I'm thinking, oh man, NASA is controlling all this shit. I never realized it. I thought it was just like the entire scientific community. Like everyone thinks that there's just science, all these scientists studying the stars every day, and they're all taking turns on the telescope, and somehow through a telescope, you can tell what they're made of. We found a planet light years away. We can't see it, but we know what it's made of based on what you see in a telescope. Then really quick, it all falls apart. You're like, okay, NASA's controlling all this. Jesus Christ, what the hell are we on? And then fairly quickly for me, it became pretty obvious that it may be flat and maybe not, but it's definitely not what they're telling us. Like you just can't believe anything coming from the mainstream media. If it's on the news, that took that valuable spot, that airtime. They're not going to just throw any news up on CNN. It all has a purpose, and the purpose is never to inform the people of what's going on. Why would they do that? If I was a psychopath, I wouldn't do that. It wouldn't even be a thought. If I'm sitting, in a conference room with all the elite and all the, trillionaires out there, nobody is ever going to say, but the people need to know. We need to do this for the people. That's never coming up. That's never coming up. So if whatever they're saying, it can't be true.
Like if they can lie, they will.
Yeah, like with global warming. I'm not a geologist or whatever those scientists are called that study the climate. I don't have access to any of that information. But if Al Gore is saying there's a problem with carbon, then there's no problem with carbon. Then it just can't be. It's got to be something. It's just bullshit. And then you look into the other side of global warming and the other people that are really into it. They're saying, I don't know if it's true, but they're saying, oh no, they're just trying to put a tax on carbon. They're just trying to, put us in, in more debt. They're just trying to make more money off fake carbon tax, free money, free trillions. That's what they're saying. And who am I going to believe? Al Gore or the people saying it's a tax scam? I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer, right? Del, or Gav. Now, Gav, you're Eric Dubé was telling me we went back and forth on a couple emails, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, and you were talking about what's your specialty when it comes into flat Earth? Like, where's your expertise? I know you got a degree in mathematics. Can you explain how you got into flat Earth?
Yeah, well, I reckon I've been, ever since about the age of 20, 21, looking into conspiracy theories, if that's what you want to call them, or looking into the lies we've been told. But it was only about 4 years ago that the flat Earth information reached me. I've got a combined honours degree in maths and physics, so I believed that all that they told me in science was correct until that time. And ever since I've looked into it now, I know that we've been told a lie. It's not a globe, and natural science and common sense are the two things that tell me that. So, yeah, that's my expertise, if you like. Natural science, common sense, direct realism. Those are maybe the topics we want to discuss today.
What do you say to people that say, one of the most common things people say when you're discussing flat Earth is, but how could all the scientists be wrong? How could they all be in on this? All the scientists. What do you say to those guys?
Well, mathematics is a formal science. You'll have heard that before. And a formal science is just like a language. So there's a distinction between a formal science like mathematics and a natural science. Formal science is all about definitions. It's all about the meanings of words. So a mathematician can believe whatever definitions and axioms, and if he then, following from those definitions and axioms comes to conclusions, then he will believe them if he believes his definitions. So there's no conspiracy that lots of scientists are all in on this game. What they don't realize is that the definitions and assumptions and axioms on which they're basing their reasoning are fallacious. They're the things that are wrong, and they're the things that people need to start looking at, including academics. And maybe just to give you, my reason for joining with Dell, after looking at the flat Earth for about 3 years, I came across Dell as well in his Hangouts. And I decided that, for me, it was very important that I showed that it's not just, common people that are asking this question, but there's also academics asking this question. And I wanted to bring my expertise to the table, too, and try and find out what the hell's going on.
That's beautiful. And Del, same question. Like, what do you tell people? Your interviews are awesome. You just crack people right open. What do you say when they say, well, what about all the scientists? I mean, the scientists have been wrong. They've known this for 500 years. They've proven all this.
They can't all be on it together.
Well, it's a bit of a fallacy, just as Gav said. If, just like me, you would have to postulate then that for the 37 years of my life, up until that point of realisation that I was actively lying. When it's not, you just believe these things. It's a fallacy within yourself that you just base it on assumption from authority, and you take these things for granted to be true until you actually start sifting through and looking at it. So, these fallacies that people bring at you, everybody would have to be in on it. It's just a nonsense because, quite clearly, as Gav just stated, and myself, obviously, everybody doesn't have to be in on it. If people are believing what they've been told and they're following through with that, then, it's just a matter of getting them to look at it,
Yep, if you never question the things that you base all your beliefs on, then, there's no way you're going to find it out, right? You actually have to start digging in within yourself and thinking, well, what is it I'm believing and why do I believe it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, then that's when the whole thing falls apart. And basically scientists aren't doing that. Sorry, Bill. Yeah.
And people have to strip it back. We always push direct realism, natural science, actual substance. You have to bring things back to what we can actually test, observe, and see for ourselves. And it is the roots of science. It's based in substance. So, things like the natural physics of water, fluid mechanics, how that substance behaves on Earth, that tells us beyond any shadow of a doubt that we do not live on the exterior of any shape. So you're not going to get any practical person, scientist, physicist that's going to come forward denying these things. You will get sophists who will try and give explanations and arguments, and it's pretty much based on images. But for me, we can't ignore natural physics in favour of an image. You don't start trying to work physics in to fit an image. So for me, the NASA images and videos don't even come into the equation as far as I'm concerned.
One of one thing I took from you, Del, recently is I love how you when you're having a debate with someone who's not a flat earther, you engage in a conversation where you're only talking about things that you both agree on and that you both can prove, and you're always asking the guy you're debating with if he agrees with something. Like when you're talking about the laws of natural science, it must be observable, measurable, testable, and repeatable. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There's four?
Right.
Those four, right?
Yeah.
And how could you not agree with that? When you talk to someone, you're having a debate, how could they not agree with that? It has to be observable, measurable, testable, and repeatable. That's science, right?
Well, we're talking about objective reality, so it has to come into that criteria,
Yeah, and we even Neil deGrasse Tyson, he even says that he doesn't know what gravity is, and it always comes back to gravity. Gravity is that if they didn't have gravity, man, they would have nothing to hold on to. But you can't measure it, you can't test it, and you can't observe it, right? Yeah. So gravity becomes the theory. So if you can't, is this? I mean, I'm no scientist. Is this right? You guys would know, right? That makes sense to me. Like it's not science if you can't measure it, correct?
Yeah.
Or you can't test it, and you can't. Is this right?
It's not natural science.
It's not natural science, and you were making the distinction of formal science. Formal science would be mathematics, right?
Yeah.
Anything with a language, yep.
Yeah.
Bases based on definitions and axioms and assumptions, yeah.
You know what's insane is how they always use this, the Globers, as how they proved the Earth was round back 1,000 years ago. There was a shadow in the Middle East, and then that king had a friend in another country, and they measured the shadow at the same time, and then they figured out that the world was 25,000 miles in circumference. That's actually in science programs, right? Isn't that crazy? Yep. They're talking about a shadow down in a well. It sounds like a biblical story, right? And they hold on to that. And they hold on to that. That's like the proof. They proved it 1,000 years ago. There was a guy who was looking, he did a test. He had a stick, and then he looked down a well, and then he waited for the sun to be 12 o'clock, and then somehow he, I don't know how maybe he called them or sent a raven, to...
Pigeon.
They said. No, is that what they did? Is that part of the story? They had a pigeon in the story?
I don't know.
Dude, that is the funniest shit ever. People hold on to that. And then that Bill the Nye guy, whatever that science guy, the Bill Nye, there's a video that's I don't know if you guys watch those flat earth mixtapes. I love that shit.
They burn him.
I love that. That's so entertaining to me. But he's talking about, he's on his show, how he's explaining how ships go over the horizon, and the hull goes first and then the mast, and he goes, that's science. But anybody,
You're not the science guy.
you can go to YouTube and disprove that right away. They go, oh, look, it's going over the horizon. No, it isn't. If it was going over the horizon, you wouldn't be able to zoom in on it. How do you zoom in on something that went over the fucking horizon? I have to explain that to people. People will say, I'll send them a video, and they go, no, I don't know what this video is you're showing me. All I saw is a boat that you couldn't see, and then you zoomed in on it and you could see it. They don't explain. It goes, they don't. A famous celebrity, I was having an argument with him. Goes, Eddie, I was in the Mediterranean on this yacht, and I saw with my own eyes a boat go over the horizon. You could just see him going, and there's a line of them. There was a line of all these ships. I seen it with my own eyes.
Lying through their teeth.
Yeah.
Why are you lying to me?
No, he didn't. No, he believed it. He believed it, and to him it made sense. But then when I showed him the video of them zooming in on a boat that appeared to go over the horizon, he didn't understand that it's impossible to zoom in on something that goes over a curve. He couldn't see that. He just thought, you just zoomed in on it, bro. You're just showing me something. I'm like, ugh, it's incredible. Right?
But there's other explanations for that, right? If some phenomenon like that has two different explanations, then the one that they're saying can't be right, because there are other ones, for example, using perspective, that show you very clearly that your visual acuity, or the diffraction limit, as they call it, of light, will give you the same phenomena, that things disappear bottom first. So, it's a completely false argument, again, based on, visible phenomena and not on anything tangible that can be measured, no physical substance. It's a visible phenomenon, and just because people don't understand how it works doesn't make it real.
Yeah. It's part of the sophism. If you don't know if many people know what sophism means, but you will even see it in their explanations. They say that in order to recreate this effect, you only can do it viewing objects going away straight in front of you. So right there and then that they're playing on an optical effect. And it's part of the sophism, because it's simple geometry. If somebody is going to say to me that at 12 or 20 miles a ship is going over the horizon of the globe Earth, so we'll get rotund, curvy, convex, nature-defying water, that the ship is going over at 12 to 20 miles. So if you take an equilateral triangle and you say that you are the observer A viewing the ship, which is B, at point C, you should have somebody who can measure the curvature from left to right. Nobody ever sees anything from left to right, so you see that they're using sophism. They're playing on our lack of understanding on perspective and how our eyes work when they pull that nonsense about the ships going over the curve of the Earth.
Yeah, the curve thing is, to me, I just focus on the fact that NASA's controlling the International Space Station and all the the obvious tax scam that is. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but isn't the International Space Station, hasn't that been floating in the thermosphere for like 15 years, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
And
I think that's what they say. Yeah.
Officially, that what
I
they
don't
say
remember a launch.
is
I don't remember it being in the news.
Yeah, the International Space Station, they're saying it's in the thermosphere, right? And don't they say that the thermosphere is like between 800 degrees and like 1700 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So, so there's something's been floating in space for 15 years in the thermosphere, and it's the size of like a 747 jet. And anytime they show you footage of inside the International Space Station, they're like in polo shirts and like dockers, and it's incredible. I mean, it seems like we've gone. The only time in history where we've gone backwards in technology is space. We go to the moon in '69, do it 6 times, and then they trash that. They destroy the technology. That astronaut Don Pettit, man, if I was in the Illuminati, that guy would have been suicided. And I would have deleted. If I was in the Illuminati, I would have made him look like he never worked for NASA. Had got Mick West on the case and just say, this guy, there's no proof he even worked at NASA, because the shit they're allowing him to say, like Don Pettit, he's a NASA astronaut. Everyone in the flat Earth community, we get this. We see this one all the time, where he goes, "I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond, except we destroyed all the technology. We destroyed, and it's been a pain to try to put it back together." That guy would have been suicided if I was one of them psychopaths. Jesus Christ! How do they let guys say that? I mean, and then no one gives a shit. They destroy. He said, "I would go to the moon in a nanosecond, except we destroyed all the technology, everything, all the data, all the records." Right there. If that doesn't make you suspicious about the moon landings, because everybody, whether you believe they happened or not, you know that there's a reason to doubt it. Like there's a reason. There's a lot of fishy shit. You could believe that we went to the moon, but don't get all weird that there's people that don't believe it, because look at all this shit. And then when you hear that they destroyed the technology and all the records, if you're still on their side. If you got an excuse for that, if you somehow rationalize that, you're 100% hypnotized, or you're being paid by them and you're part of it.
Do you guys have fluoride in your water like we do here in America? Like we have fluoridated water, and it dumbs everybody down, and nobody wants to ask questions, and preoccupies everybody with their TV shows and sports stars. Is one of the reasons I hear for why nobody does anything about this. And I'm curious, because I knew when I was a little kid, don't drink the water out of the tap. You drink the bottled water. You know what I'm saying? It was like something's in that water. It's dirty. Or whatever, there's metals. I never knew what the story was.
If I was in the Illuminati, I would put out the rumor that we're putting fluoride in the water, but not really go through with it. Just tell people that there's fluoride in the water, and then own all the bottled water companies, and then put fluoride in that, and just trick everybody. You really want to put fluoride in the water? Tell them that it's in the tap and it's not in the tap, and own, like, you think, doesn't Nestle own most of those water companies? And isn't Nestle like in the Bilderberg group? Doesn't that make, I would do that. I would have all these different bottled water companies.
I would get them both ways.
I would put like,
and Florida.
I'd put spring water on it, spring, 100% spring. I'd put all that shit and put like a little logo of a mountain with snow caps. You know what I mean? And call it Icelandic water or some shit. You know, there probably is. I think there is one. I think I just isn't it easy to fool people? I mean, come on, it's too easy.
The Wizard of Oz.
It's too easy. People don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. No one gives a shit. No one gives a fucking shit about anything. And because if you had kids, you guys have kids?
Yeah.
I have a kid, and if there was a rumor that at the school that your kids attend, that there was like a child molester there, you wouldn't say, I need proof. You would investigate that shit. You'd want the proof. You'd look for the proof. But if you didn't initially find the proof, you're going to investigate whether it's real or not. You're going to look into it, whether it was a fake rumor. If you found out on your block, the block where your kids play on the block, if you found out that there was a guy that's kidnapping children and raping them in your neighborhood, you're going to look into it. Whether it's true or not, you're going to look into it, right? But there's all this, there's evidence of this giant pedophile ring going on globally in everyone's government, and no one gives a fuck. No one gives a shit. Nobody. No one gives a fuck. 1 million kids a year get kidnapped in the United States alone, and in Washington, D.C., that's where most of them get kidnapped. Nah,
I give a fuck. I just don't want to die. I don't want to like look into it too much and do something about it and then get killed.
Exactly.
I give a fuck.
Exactly.
You know, but I also give a fuck about myself.
Yeah.
Hey, you said that there's 1 million kids that go missing?
800,000. Unless that's a statistic, that could be wrong.
Okay.
But even if it's 2,000 kids get kidnapped a year, if it's 2,000 and not 1 million,
Right.
that's incredible. You can't even bring up or question. You can't even question Sandy Hook because 20 kids got killed. You can't even question it. Yet 1 million kids get kidnapped, and a lot of them if there's evidence. There's a lot of evidence. Look at all those WikiLeaks emails. Look at the Conspiracy of Silence documentary. Look at the documentary Who Took Johnny. Look at that shit. There's a gigantic pedophile ring going on.
Well, I'm curious. Do you know like what the ratio of how many of those kidnappings are solved?
When you watch the documentary Who Took Johnny, no one even looks into it, man. They stay away from that shit because they know where they're going. They stay away from it because they know where it leads. So, anyways, no one gives a fuck.
Never trust a statistic you didn't falsify yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's 500 kids a year get kidnapped and tortured and get put into child sex trafficking rings, if it's 500 a year, that's a fucking lot. That's a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And no one gives a shit. No one's doing nothing about it at all. Just say, hey, it's a conspiracy theory. Fuck. So you know what? When it comes to that shit, I don't give a shit either. I don't, I'm just bringing it up because it's an example of the mass hypnosis that's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
The beauty of this whole subject, though, is that it's in everybody's direct experience. unfortunately, the majority of these other conspiracies that's pretty much based in hearsay, and we don't have any real direct experience, so it's difficult to get anything really truthful, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the difference with this subject is that it's in everybody's experience. Everybody can experience this. Everybody can verify and falsify any of this stuff for themselves in regards to this question about the shape of the Earth.
Gavin, what's your take on the International Space Station? 15 years floating in the thermospheres. No one's ever died. Scientists coming and going, living on it for 6 months at a time, and that program is making about $18 billion a year. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they're making a lot of money for a lot of the CGI that they give out. But if you're trying to ask me exactly what they're doing up there, it's kind of akin to asking Scotty on the Starship Enterprise how his warp drive works. Yeah? If people are lying to you, then there's actually not much point in questioning what they're telling you, huh? So yeah, I don't believe a word of it. I don't think there's a space up there. I don't think they've been up there the way they claim they have. And I think they show us a lot of imagery to try and persuade us that we live on a ball. And that's the only reason that they're bringing those images to us.
Yeah. Have you seen, there's, remember, you guys, of course you guys are familiar with Admiral Richard Byrd, correct? And he's the guy, he's the Navy Admiral / World Adventures, like he led the expedition Operation Deep Freeze. And I'm not sure about the other ones, but I know there's a documentary that is on YouTube where it lasts about an hour. I just saw this like a week and a half ago, where, I mean, I've seen Richard Byrd on that TV show talking about his expeditions to Antarctica. Everyone's seen that, but you don't know if he's lying, or you don't know. You know, on that show he said that beyond the South Pole, there's a land as big as the United States, filled with, you know, all sorts of minerals and resources and coal and all that stuff. He's talking about that on that TV show. Every flat earther has seen it. You can watch it on YouTube. A 1950 show, Admiral Byrd talking about Operation Deep Freeze. And but then I've never actually seen any footage. There's an hour documentary where they videotaped everything, them preparing, leaving from whatever Navy port they were at, saying bye to their families. They videotaped everything.
They left out of San Diego.
And they went, and then they got to, have you seen this? And then they get to Antarctica, and they filmed them building like a miniature city, a base. And what they did from there is actually took airplanes and flew and explored the Antarctica on airplanes, and then they would come back. They would fly, and then they would come back. They would fly, and there's video and them talking about this. There's video of the land. There's no ice. And go look, you know. And it's a documentary that never came out, and it's on YouTube. So that land that he was talking about on that 1950s TV show, there's video. Who knows if that's the real land? It could be fake. Maybe that was, you know, Alaska or something. I don't know. You have to watch. It could easily be a fake documentary, but it's it looks pretty convincing that they found some land beyond the South Pole.
Again, as Dale says, it's that's the kind of thing we'll never know. You know, I mean, you know, the government's lying to you, Eddie. Huh? So, yeah. You know, are you going to trust those images, those films, those documentation as any kind of real proof?
But it's kind of proof.
You have to pull the thing back to natural science.
Yeah.
To actually, you know, have a direct experience, observable, measurable, repeatable. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
I mean, we can all do that with water, right? We can lie in the bathtub. We can take a cup of tea. We can go to the swimming pool. We can go to a lake. Water is always level. Yeah, that is something you can directly experience, and you never ever see curved, bendy water. So you know, these are the things you need to look at, and they're the only things you can actually prove to yourself. If you give away your authority to judge for yourself and believe in some kind of other authority, whether it's a documentary or your government, then you're basically giving up that chance to prove it to yourself. Huh? So people need to take that responsibility back and demand that they can prove it for themselves.
What do you think happened? Why do you think NASA was formed? Do you think that the elite found out what we were on, like in the 30s when like, I'm not, in the 30s when August Picard went up in that balloon like 100,000 feet, and then I'm sure it looks like they found out that what we thought we were on isn't quite the same. And when they came down, they decided to shut down space and not let us know what's going on. Do you feel like it's something like that happened? Like NASA was created just to make sure what they just found out, no one else needs to know.
Yeah, I could go with any kind of hypotheses, but I would have to, put forward that, we don't have to have motive in order to understand that there's been lies told, So I always feel as if I have to let people know that first, because again, this is one of the things you get, why would they be lying? And, what this right now, we're not really sure about why, but we know that they are lying, and that's the most important part for me. But I can totally concur with what you're saying, Eddie. For me, if I trace it back, it seems to me that discoveries were made and these things were set up in order to, sell us this fake reality that the majority of people believe in to this day,
Yeah, man, do you think in our lifetime there'll be enough money for a legit expedition past Antarctica? Do you think there'll be a couple billionaires that that want to throw some cash or something? I mean,
I'm saving now.
What is if someone came to you, a billionaire, and said, "I'm going to give you $1 billion, but you got to use all that money to prove that to prove what we live on, like whether it's flat or round." What would you spend that $1 billion on? How would you prove it?
Well, I can prove to people that we live on a level plane by using a simple measuring tool like water. Again, it's back to physics. It proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that we do not live in the exterior of any shape. So we live in a contained system, and that's provable every single day. I don't need $1 billion to prove that. But if I had $1 billion, I would be putting it to use in order to have exploration to as many places as I possibly could in order to try and establish the full dimensions of Earth.
Beautiful.
Yep. And, maybe just one point there. Just because physicists will, or mathematicians will redefine level to be the tangent plane to a radial coming from the center of the Earth, just because they define that doesn't make it true. In fact, as Dell's quite rightly pointed out, you don't need any money at all to prove to yourself that the world's flat, and that there's a level water everywhere. So, and I fully agree with Dell. To find out exactly how far we can go upwards or how far we can go out to the side, that would entail exploration. Then, of course, that would probably need some kind of money. But I would hope that the common man demands it from his own government. Yeah. That we have that full exploration and full disclosure.
Yeah, but just as you say, this they come with these explanations and defining what level means from the centre of the Earth, and the water is equally a distance from the centre of the Earth. It's just a story. Again, it has to come back to practicality. As you have seen those videos, Eddie, where I'll ask people, can you give me one practical example of a body of water conforming to the exterior of any shape? And obviously, people can't. So they can define these things any way they see fit. At the end of the day, it comes back to practicality, and all claims must be shown practically, or we have to ignore their claims.
Jeff?
Yep, and maybe just one point to add on to that too. It's all right to argue from facts like level water against a hypothesis, but it's not real science to come with a hypothesis and argue against the facts. That's not even science, Eddie.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, gravity is a theory. It's not proven, right? There's no way you can measure it. Didn't they claim that they just figured out, or they just captured a graviton or something? What did they say? Some more shit that we have to take their word for.
Gravitons. Yeah.
In CERN, right? What do you think's going on in CERN? Like, what is that? Is that just a big tax scam as well? They're just building. Like, you're going to send a particle through all that shit? How many miles is it? It's like 10 miles in circumference or something. What is that? Like, what are they doing there? They're doing all the. They're just building. What are they? What is that? CERN. What are they
Well, I
doing?
mean, I think that there's a lot of equipment set up and probably a lot of well-meaning people trying to discover things. As far as I remember, Tim Berners-Lee worked at CERN and started the internet, so that's at least one good thing came out of it.
What else
But
do you
what
think?
they're doing, accelerating these particles into this, how should I say, microscopic world of little balls and lots of empty space, sounds very similar to the fairy story that we're getting told about the faraway galaxies and universes. So I've got a very, how should I say, open mind about that.
I think they're there smoking bongs and racing go-karts, running that to see who can get the best lap time.
Did you say smoke bongs? What did you say?
All right. You heard that.
I heard that part right.
I don't know. Hey, listen, I'm one of the dumbest guys on the planet. I graduated early from high school. I wanted to get the fuck out. I never wanted to go to college. I never wanted to be in school. I'm not very smart. The last book I read was Jack Herrera's The Emperor Wears No Clothes. And then, You're Being Lied To was another book. I'm not that smart. I'm not very
Jocko
smart at
has
all.
a name for the kind of smart that you are.
CERN, could be is probably just the most amazing scientific.
Have you seen the opening ceremony for CERN? Did you see this? Did anybody see this? There was an opening
Yeah, very
ceremony that was satanic, and everyone they had like a dance rehearsal. It was crazy.
I don't know. Again,
Everyone was wearing horns, like devil horns. You got to see this.
I believe it. I don't even need to see it.
It's like a
I
satanic
don't even need
connection.
to see it. I believe it.
The satanic connection.
it's like when people defend the government so much, it's like the government is such all governments, just the elite, right? The elite. It's so corrupt and it's so wicked, and everybody agrees with that. Nobody on the planet is going to say that their government is not corrupt. Nobody. Everyone says, yeah, they're corrupt.
No,
yeah, they're
that's not
stealing
true.
tax. Everybody said, who you know somebody who doesn't think the government's corrupt?
I work at Victory MMA, and it's at least 60% military.
They don't think the government's corrupt?
And these guys all think I'm crazy.
Yeah, but they would agree if you
I
asked
work
them.
with Jocko. Jocko, see, I was going to tell you, I wrote down a
He'll
few
even
things.
tell you that the government is corrupt. Everybody will agree the government's corrupt, but when
Yeah.
certain situations come up, they always got their back.
Yeah.
They always got their back.
I've
Always
mentioned
got
this
their
to
back.
Jocko. I mentioned Admiral Byrd to Jocko. I sat next to him and brought this up to him. And he was talking to me jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, I'm going to hijack the conversation, and I'm going to throw some flat earth for a second, and he's just going to be cool with it. And it didn't fly. He smiled at me, nodded, he did his little thing, and he got up and went over and wrestled with Dean. But that there was like something to me, that Jocko didn't want to talk about Admiral Byrd.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Jocko's a high up like military guy that I work with in jiu-jitsu. So I'm trying to. I was gonna say, I wrote down you should try to get him on your podcast and ask him, or vice versa, go
I'm
on
afraid
his.
of him. No way. He'll kick my ass. He's a Navy SEAL. He'll stab me in the neck.
He's a black belt. He's
But again, back to CERN.
what the hell is that? What the fuck?
Can you look that up, TJ? Look how big CERN is.
Why
And
does
they're
that
sending-
matter to me?
They're putting so much money into that, and that's where supposedly everyone thinks the smartest people on the planet are from CERN, right? I mean, they're working there, they're doing some kind of some experiments, and just like the International Space Station, those scientists, they're scientists, and they're experimenting. They got I was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I brought up the fact that what have we gained from the space shuttle missions and the International Space Station being up there floating for 15 years in the thermosphere and the moon? How has society benefited from that at all? $18 billion a year. And then Jamie punches up a list of all the inventions that they invented.
Like freeze dried.
Yeah, like baby food, like enriched baby food, and like
Teflon.
Teflon or some shit, like all that. Can you imagine how many billions? $18 billion a year. How much money has been put into that shit? Man, for what? And they got a list. They got a list of inventions.
Not
that they-
enough, Eddie. They need more.
They got a list, and it's all like stupid shit. Like they needed to go up there to invent baby food. Like, yo, if we didn't fucking have this International Space Station, babies would be malnutrition. It's incredible.
We should have cage fighting up in
Have you got
the space station for how much money they get.
Gav? Have you looked into the list of inventions that they figured out in the International Space Station? Have you?
Mayweather McGregor should do this boxing match on the space station for how much money is involved in this shit.
Be entertaining.
It's gibberish, right?
I haven't, Eddie. I don't know what that list would be. I mean, they blow better bubbles than they did beforehand, and I think they've got, probably improved their CGI.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the
You
building
know,
goes. No.
There's those zero G planes for a while there, and it's probably still like this, but people that are investigating and looking into the fakery of the ISS, they're looking into, okay, on a zero G plane, you got 45 seconds of free fall or whatever, and then so the debunkers are saying, look, this film sequence is 2 minutes. There's no way it could have did it on a zero G plane. Like, they're not improved. They probably got a zero G plane. They could do that for like 5 minutes now. You know what I mean? Like how are they not improving that? Like, they just go higher and then they come down, and now they could film for 2 minutes now or whatever, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, I wouldn't take that as any proof just because they could do longer than 45 seconds on the green screen.
Yeah, people just have their backs. People have. I mean, they fake 6 moon landings, and you would think nobody would have their back. Like how would you be defending an organization that faked 6 moon landings and stole all that money? Like how could? But people do. They'll defend it. They're like, no, man, that's not CGI. They're really floating in the International Space Station. They're floating. They're floating. Those people who faked the 6 moon missions, they're dead. They're gone. This is the new NASA. And then when you watch those press conferences after they land rovers on Mars, when you listen to that shit, oh my God, that's the worst acting ever. You know what I'm talking about, Jeff?
They explain it away as if like it's something they've been doing. They've been touring around the country for 3 months, saying the same stories over and over again. That's why they're sitting there looking that way. It's not because they're lying. It's because they're tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
And they're repeating the same shit over and over
No,
again.
the Mars ones are hilarious because they ask him, a guy gets up and asks a question and goes, "Can you describe the landing?" And the guy in charge is like,
I haven't seen
it was a non-benign. Where's Michael at? He's always like calling someone out. I hope he's here. Where's Michael? Yeah, it went better than initially projected, but on rather the benign side of the spectrum. But yeah, where's Jonathan? He's here. Oh, he'll know. That's all I'm gonna say, and that's all. The picture says everything. Look at that picture. That picture says everything. I'm done. Have you seen this shit? And people just eat that shit up. They eat it up.
I don't know. I gave up on that when I was like a kid, and I was excited about what NASA would say, and then it would just keep being like nothing, and be like nobody's landed anywhere. There's no fucking aliens. It would be like some image. I'm like, okay. I knew that shit was bullshit when I was 12 years old.
And the head of NASA, there's a clip with the head of NASA.
Sorry, Eddie.
Go ahead,
It seems to have just gone from bad to worse, right? I mean, at least when you see the 3 astronauts that apparently came back from the moon, they had the decency to look sheepish, yeah, and to look disgusted with themselves.
Yeah.
Now you've just got a lot of actors high-fiving, telling jokes, and laughing at our faces, right?
Yeah.
So I think all we've done is gone from bad to worse.
Yeah, and just like, is it John? Is that your name, bud? I'm not sure.
Who?
You say your man there with the glasses. I'm not sure his name. John.
Jeff Glover.
I'm Jeff.
Jeff.
You had mentioned earlier, that there's no launch of the ISS. There's no actual footage of them constructing it. You would think that these mammoth expeditions and creations of human beings would be documented by video, photograph, in great detail, but there is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and they show. Man, have you guys seen the footage of? They shelved the space shuttle. Like they're going backwards. We went to the moon in the '60s, and then we went to space shuttle. Can only go in Earth's orbit. Then they shut down the space shuttle. Went with the International Space Station. They're going backwards. They're
They're
backing,
not the same thing.
They're backing out of shit. What was that?
They're not the same thing?
What?
The space station and the international...
The International Space Station is the space station, and then there's the space shuttle.
Okay.
Space shuttle.
And these things dock with each
Dude,
other?
there's video. Have you guys seen the video of the space shuttle docking into the International Space Station? It's hysterical. And people believe it. Oh, that's real. Look, that's real. They believe that shit.
See, if people pulled it back to practicality again, as soon as somebody says to me, "Oh, we are going to space, and space is a vacuum," so right away we have this claim that we live on Earth with a pressurized gaseous system, and they're telling us that this gas tapers off gradually until it meets this vacuum of space. If we go back to natural science again and everyday practical reality, we know that two opposing pressure systems must have a solid separation between them, or they will equilibrate. So for me, right away, I don't even need to go into NASA and what they're up to and trying to prove what they're up to. Based on that one claim alone, I know that they're talking crap.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's incredible that you could watch it on YouTube. You could watch the space shuttle docking on into the International Space Station. You could see that, and it's so bad. It looks like a 1970 kung fu theater movie. It's so bad. It's terrible. Like if you put that shit in a movie, it would be horrible. Shit in movies look way better than that. They could do way better than that. I don't know why they don't. I mean, when you watch that, like what was that movie where Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar. When you watch that shit looks way better than the real shit. The real shit looks horrible. It looks like high school students put it together. And another crazy thing about the International Space Station is they added that window that they look out. It's like maybe in 7 pieces, like a circular window where they take. What's it called?
The cupola.
Yeah, they built that shit while it was up there. They made that shit happen while it was up there. Yet they don't like film the unveiling of it. You know what I mean? It's just boom, it just happened. We built it. It just happened. It's incredible. But now
it actually beggars belief, Eddie, I mean, if you actually think about it very rationally and logically, then anybody can see that it's just nonsense fairy stories. It's pink unicorns and fairy dust.
Yeah. TJ is since the very first Flat Earth podcast we did, you've been curious. I wouldn't say that you're on the fence or anything like that, but you're definitely you've discovered a lot of the bullshit that the elite are into lately that we've talked about, non-flat Earth, and how do you feel right now about
open-minded
what we live on?
I think the Earth is round, but that's just because I have no indisputable proof to believe that it isn't. And I know what everyone is going to say. Oh, why do you question everything that's told to you? I have no reason to believe otherwise, and I have no reason to believe really that the Earth is round. But it was instilled in me as a child that the Earth was round, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to break away from that.
You don't want to though? You have no desire to break away from that?
The Earth being round or not doesn't really affect me. Things like the pedophilia stuff that you're talking about, like I have a son. I don't want that to be true. That scares me. The thought that maybe some of the world's current events are staged and set up and people are paid to make those things happen, that stuff scares me. Is it true? I don't know. I'm open-minded to anything because conspiracy theories, I mean, largely the reason they exist is because they have legs, right? Like they're plausible. At bare minimum, any conspiracy theory that actually takes off is plausible. And I'm never going to get mad at somebody for questioning something because, I mean, if you believe world history, if we didn't question the British government, we wouldn't have a country here in the United States. So you have to question everything to a certain extent.
What do you say? Every now and then you interview a guy, Del. He kind of has this attitude where he doesn't. It doesn't matter to him, like whether it's flat or round.
Why should it matter?
That's a good question.
Anybody?
I can see why it matters. I mean, if for me, I've contemplated deeply through my life. I've pursued many avenues, spiritual, scientific avenues, and if I don't have the psychological foundation, which is where I'm at, then everything that I call a life for me would be delusional. Because without proper grounding, without a proper understanding of exactly where I am, what the game is about, then I'm just forever prodding in the dark, trying to make the best of any delusion, cultural idea, or way of life that is put to me. You know, it's a substitute for actually knowing. So for me, it's hugely important. And for me, a lot of the degenerative behaviour that we see that's being allowed to this very day is based on that. People are running around in bewilderment and ignorance. They have been sold this false idea of who they are, where they are, what life is about. And for me, it's hugely important. It is the foundation of anything you would call a life. You know? So some people can have a delusional life that is comfortable, but for me, it's still a delusion because it is not grounded or rooted in anything truthful.
Well, let me ask you guys this: is the
Here.
is the moon round?
Well, for me, it's a fallacy because we don't live up there, and you don't get anything measurable in regards to the shape of Earth that you're standing upon by looking at the sky. It's a fallacy. It's a red herring.
Gab, what do you think about the moon?
Yeah, I think it looks like a disc. It has the appearance of a disc, but since again it's a visible phenomena, and you need to look very carefully at exactly how your eye works and how things like perspective work. There's nothing you can say unless you can physically touch it and tangibly touch it. And since we all don't believe that they ever went to the moon, then we have no information about that. So, as Del quite correctly says, it will give you absolutely no information about the shape of the Earth just by looking at images or at the sky.
That is one thing I will say. I don't think we went to the moon. I think that was a tactic to try to win the Cold War and, establish superior dominance. Which, to me, Eddie, when you say we went backwards, how do you know that maybe we're not actually going forwards for the first time? Like, maybe we set out so big. Oh, we've gone to the moon. We've landed. Here's the flag. Look at this. It's not in the Hollywood basement. Don't worry about it. But now we're actually getting advancements. But because they're real, they seem so far behind where we were allegedly in the 60s.
I don't understand the question.
So, like,
You lost.
so think about this. In 1969, we landed on the moon, right? Quote unquote. If we didn't actually land on the moon, where were we? Were we actually even launching men into space? Okay, so now we are launching people into space. We have an International Space Station.
That's not real, though. The International Space Station's not real.
That's what you say. I mean, I believe that stuff's real. I mean, this is
We're
where
talking about now. We're talking about beliefs.
well, this is where I lost Eric Dubé about satellites. Satellites are real. To cover up satellites would be just a ridiculous amount of finagling.
How would you cover up satellites?
Well, I mean, you would have. So Eric said that everything on satellite is actually just on the ground in transmitters and repeaters. Transmitters and repeaters and that signal will not be messed up by the sun, which is what degrades the signal of satellites. So when it's cloudy, if it's not coming from a satellite, that actual signal should be exponentially stronger than if it wasn't cloudy, because it's the clouds act like a insulation from the sun and whatnot. So when it's cloudy and you have DirecTV or if it rains, your television signal doesn't work. If you were going to say that wasn't from a satellite, someone actually has to mess with your satellite signal to keep up the myth.
But a satellite or a TV, the old TV antennas worked. That was worked off like radios.
Yeah, it's over the air. Right.
Yeah, so that's what DirecTV is too. Same thing.
Yeah, but
weather would affect it. Weather does affect that because it's a signal coming off your antenna.
Radio signals are better when it's cloudy and raining than it is when it's sunny. So when it's cloudy and raining,
because of the water, no,
it's because the sun is not destroying it. Like the worst thing that is for a radio signal is sun rays destroying it.
Well,
okay?
What does that have to do with the satellite? Maybe it just destroys the signals coming off the antenna.
The signal is destroyed or distorted when there are clouds because it can't break through the clouds.
No, but what I'm saying,
if it was on the ground, it shouldn't actually distort when it's raining.
Okay, what do you got to say about that, Gav?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's pull it back to a practical example. If I drive down the motorway here where I am, then and look at the signal that I've got on my phone that's apparently, calculating my GPS and using satellites to tell me where I am. And if I've got no service going, 50 kilometers from here in any one direction, but as soon as a tower comes and I can see the tower, then my phone gets a signal again, and I can do that on and off all the way down the motorway. Yeah, travel 8 hours and see that the signal comes and goes, and it comes when there's a land tower that I can see.
But that's your cell
that
phone.
for me, just if somebody was to tell me that they can, a probe can send a selfie from Pluto billions of miles through space with a technology 15 years ago and bounce it off a satellite and send it down here, and yet I can't get a signal on my waterway. Sorry, guys, something's horribly wrong with that story.
But a cell
you'll never
phone-
see a TV antenna pointing up to the sky. They don't point up to the sky. Yours doesn't. Mine doesn't.
Well, your satellite dish does in your yard or on your
Well,
roof.
it doesn't.
Points to the south. It doesn't go up.
point and
The
up
southern
to the
hemisphere,
sky.
yes, yeah, that's because that's where the satellite is positioned. Talking about your cell phone GPS, cell phone navigation like your Waze or Google Maps, it doesn't run off a GPS. That runs off triangulating your cell phone tower. So
Yeah, sure. So why do you say then that satellites exist? Why do you need satellites if it can all work land based?
because okay, so again, if there is a satellite or if there isn't a satellite and they're just all ground repeaters, then why would the signal degrade during rain and clouds? It would actually be stronger if it's insulated from the sun. The reason your satellite doesn't work well when it snows or is cloudy is because it can't get to your receiver through the clouds coming down from the satellite.
Oh, I think that's an oversimplified explanation. If there's snow in my satellite dish, then I don't get a signal either. So I think you're oversimplifying, and I don't know where you got that information from, but I don't believe it to be true.
All right. I'm
Well, that's
not
just my
passionate
opinion.
enough about to fight this, so
No, me neither.
that's fine.
But even again,
I
as
work
as
in
a
radio.
point
That's
of-
how I know how radio waves work.
But again, as I pointed out before, you're able to postulate that they're sending satellites into the vacuum of space beyond our gaseous, pressurised atmosphere, and there is no solid separation between these two opposing pressure systems. I mean, again, you just look at that claim and understand that it's total nonsense. And if you doubt it, then you would have to go to natural science, go to practicality, and see if you can recreate that claim.
How about a skip? How would you guys explain like a skip on a CB radio? If the Earth is flat, then a skip should never work.
With a skip.
A skip, like if you're in Alaska and you're using a CB radio, you can skip the radio wave to basically the other side of the planet, and all of a sudden you're talking to someone that it shouldn't be working radio wave wise because the radio wave would go, it wouldn't be able to work because it would run out of steam essentially. I'll look up a skip and get you a technical definition because I'm not doing it justice, but I'll report back.
I don't know what a skip is.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wouldn't work on a ball then, would it?
Well, it bounces off something. I got to figure it out. Hold on.
I don't see what difference that would make to whether it's curved or flat though. If it's bouncing off something in the cloud or the thermosphere or some part.
That's all comes back to this question. We're trying to establish the dimensions of Earth and satellites, the moon. Many of these red herrings are not really important. But we're talking about the shape of the Earth. We're looking for measurement, things that we tangible substances that we can use in order to establish what the dimensions of Earth actually are. So satellites and moons and stars and the sun, none of these things are of any relevance whatsoever in regards to the shape of the Earth.
But they are kind of connected, though. I mean, satellites are kind of connected. It's kind of like, don't worry, we got this. We got space handled. You don't have any authority. We got the authority. We got satellites. We got the space station. We've been to the moon. You guys aren't allowed here. We got this covered. Everything's fine. It is connected to. It's just more lies. It's just like proving
Yeah,
that
it's part
you
of
can't.
sophistry.
Yeah, it's proving even another. The more lies someone tells, it's like let's say there's this groupie chick, and she's one of those chicks who does ecstasy. She gets drunk, she goes to the club, and she has sex with all your friends and just everybody in the neighborhood and in town. And then someone comes up to you and her name's Lisa, and one of your buddies comes in and say, "Hey, dude, Lisa fucked Jeff." You would believe that without any proof because you know that she's fucked everybody. So, and even if she didn't fuck Jeff, She's still a whore.
Which she probably.
You know what
did.
I mean? And you probably should believe it, even if you don't have the evidence. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like all these lies, yet you're defending him on this lie, like a serial killer, like a guy who's killed 30 people, and then your buddy who's an expert on this killer, he says he actually killed someone in Florida too. And even if he lied about that, would it matter? He's still a killer. And do you really need proof? You're like, I don't believe he killed that dude in Florida until I see proof. Until I see proof. Anytime someone tells me anything that the elite are doing that sounds plausible in my head, I believe it. And if it's not true, they're still evil. So I just don't, I'm not going to be the kind of guy that says, you know what, the government's super corrupt and they do super evil things, but I need to see evidence about this one particular thing. I don't believe this one particular thing. And guys will do that. They'll hold on. It's like a friend of mine said, we were arguing about chemtrails. It's on and on and on. And then he goes, he finally just says, we've been arguing about chemtrails. And he finally says, okay, some of those things are chemtrails, but not all of them. Not all. So he was like, it wasn't, you were wrong about most of them. You were wrong. You were dead wrong about most of them. And it's like, what are you talking about? Even if some of them are chemtrails, you just admitted that I was right. It's like, if you got paranoid that your wife was poisoning you're thinking, damn, she's poisoning my fucking milk. She's poisoning my cornflakes. She's poisoning my crackers. She's poisoning my oatmeal. And everyone thought you were crazy. Like, you fucking crazy loon. Your wife was not poisoning all your shit. And then it comes out that she was. She was only poisoning your crackers, right? But she wasn't poisoning your milk or your oatmeal or your cornflakes. For someone to say, dude, you were wrong about the fucking milk and the cornflakes. You're paranoid. She was only poisoning your fucking crackers, dude.
That's like being.
You know what I mean? It's like, are you fucking retarded? Are you fucking retarded?
That's like being a little bit dead.
Yes.
I'm only a little
that
dead.
about the
Yeah,
rest of the-
yeah. No, I've had people argue about that, about chemtrails, like arguing how I was wrong. Yeah, they only 5% of them are chemtrails, but the rest aren't. The rest are just regular contrails.
So I got a definition of a skip for you, and it may work with the Earth being flat. Apparently, a skip is when your CB radio shoots a signal straight up and it bounces off the Earth's atmosphere and then goes hundreds of thousands of miles away, up, out, down, everywhere.
I don't know anything about
So
that.
it doesn't bounce
Yeah.
off a satellite.
That's
it just
something-
No, it
that's
doesn't bounce
something-
off a satellite, but it bounces off the atmosphere.
If
So
that,
we
if
don't
that's,
need satellites.
If that's something that that you could read somewhere, or that I don't know. I don't
Well,
know what it is.
there's-
I'm not a CB
yeah.
scientist. I don't know.
There's some articles online that you'll find about.
Again, that's articles,
No.
magazines.
There's articles online explaining the skip to a plain Earth as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's all out there.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it either proves satellites or gives us any information whether it's a ball or a flat plane. So,
Well, why do you guys not believe in satellites? That's what I'm curious about.
That's,
because I don't believe in space. So if you're telling me that they've maybe got very high things circling around us, then that's for me different. But if you're defining satellites as something that goes into space, as the Star Trek defines it, then I don't believe in it. So it can't be real.
Have you guys ever seen like a satellite go overhead?
How could you? You can't even see
things blink
you-
in the sky. Yeah,
I
Is
mean,
that what you mean?
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly, but I was a small child and we were duck hunting one time. My dad's like, "Look, a satellite went by." Like, oh, okay. That blinky thing's a satellite. I know it wasn't an airplane, but I was told it was a satellite.
There you go. That's it.
again,
Yep.
but with,
See,
many-
why are you dismissing my child, guys? This is
Hey,
very
you know what?
nice.
Hey, I'm not saying I don't believe you. I believe you. Okay, I really do.
Well-
I don't know why I do, but I believe you saw a satellite.
Well,
That's
my-
it.
my
end,
dad-
end of discussion.
My dad also told me some fat guy in a red suit brought presents. So I don't know. What are you gonna do?
But I think that shows very clearly that what we're here talking about, right? We're talking about beliefs that have been instilled in us either from a very early age or through constant programming, constant brainwashing, constant films, and it's quite hard to question your beliefs and to throw them away and to actually sift through what you actually know. And it gets very uncomfortable. We see that when we interview people, and you have to be very Socratic about it and gentle, and you break them and then you fix them again, so to speak. So it's not, nobody likes having their beliefs questioned.
Well, let me ask all of you guys this, because obviously you need to question everything to come to the conclusion that things like the Earth isn't round. I asked Eric Dubé this, and I think he got upset and called it a straw man's theory, which I don't even understand what that means. But I want to ask you, if you guys question everything, what do you just accept as fact without having to experience it yourself? The example I used with Mr. Dubé was, I've never met anyone with tuberculosis, but I believe tuberculosis exists. Where do you draw the line of what is real and what isn't?
That's a good question.
Well, things have to become, they have to have practicality. If you're dealing with actual substance and practicality, then, for me, that's part of objective reality. But then there becomes a separation when people start telling me substances behave in certain ways that goes against all practicality and all observation. I mean, it's like, that's pretty much it.
I was on YouTube the other day, and I can try to pull up the video if you guys want me to. But in Russia, you can get up in a MiG. I think it's a MiG-21, and it goes at supersonic speeds. You can pay to do this, and they'll take you so high that you can see the curvature of the Earth in the airplane.
Do you have proof?
And
of
you
that?
believe that?
That's what they tell
Well,
us.
I mean, you can go do it. So
How do you know?
Well, you can go do it. You just,
Who did it?
This guy on YouTube. Why don't you? I mean,
YouTube. Come on, man. How come YouTube is good when you need it, but when I need it, it's never good?
I've never said that YouTube isn't good.
Oh, come on.
I haven't. Again, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just having a
No,
conversation.
but you're talking about something that you said. You said some guy went up and saw the curve.
Well, you can do this. You can.
No,
go
but
do
what
this
I'm saying,
personally.
but you got to understand where we're coming from.
There's video of it.
Where's the video?
I'll get it.
Is it? Are you sure it's on a fisheye lens?
I don't even.
Anytime someone's ever claimed any video or any picture of high altitude, like that Red Bull jump, that's
Right.
Retards can pick out fisheye lenses. It's so obvious, but then people will think that's the curve of the Earth. So I'm going to sit here and guarantee you and promise you, you show me a picture or video of whatever you're talking about, this Russian high altitude plane. If there's curvature, it's going to be an obvious fisheye lens.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be
I'm
back.
predicting it. I'm predicting it.
Well,
We look at this shit all day, TJ. Every night I look at this shit. The only reason it has legs, the only reason Flat Earth has legs is because, man, there's some serious shit wrong with what we've been told.
Because we have the only reason it
There's
has legs is because we
discrepancies,
have
there's
eyes.
absurdities, there's paradoxes, contradictions. There's more than just lies being told.
Yeah, this isn't
You see it every
Scientology.
day with your eyes.
People think it's Scientology. It sounds like it. I thought it was. I thought it was a CISI. Oh,
Sorry.
What about all the secrets they keep, like the Area 51 and the Antarctic Treaty, the places we're not allowed to go? Like, at what point do we get to find out what the hell all that stuff is?
I don't think
how,
it's. I
how
don't
many
think it's gonna
secrets?
happen. I don't think it's gonna happen.
When are they going to stop treating us like babies? I would like to know what's going on there.
If they're not
You know
treating
what
us like babies. They're just psychopaths that eat babies, and they wish you were a baby. As a matter of fact,
I feel good knowing I could tap all those dudes out. I'll tell you that right now, guys. That really does make me. I get a little bit of joy out of knowing I could omoplata all those motherfuckers.
All right. I'm putting this on the screen over here.
okay.
All right, you gotta bear with me while I page through it.
Okay. Can you guys see this on your screen?
No.
Hang on.
No.
Now you can.
What about now?
Yep.
Yeah.
See, look at the little spinny thing. That's round.
Fish-eyed lens. You could already tell.
Is it a fisheye lens?
Yeah, you could already tell. Fish-eyed lens.
That looks-
Fish-eyed
Col-
lens.
col-
That's
col-
any
col-
Any
Well,
base, look at that.
That's,
Any
that's
base,
not a fisheye lens. That's the canopy of the thing.
that's a fisheye
The,
lens.
the canopy of the jet is
That's-
circular.
It just curved the other direction. It just
Yeah,
went
it
upside
goes
down
the
and
other
it
way, it goes
curved the other way.
Yeah, that's the sign of a fisheye lens.
Come on,
Son of a
TJ. Come on,
bitch.
TJ.
Didn't I predict that? Didn't I just predict it? I'm like,
Why you gotta be mean about
I'm
it?
like Nostradamus.
I didn't say you were wrong.
No, I didn't say you said I was wrong. I was just making a Nostradamus prediction.
Every time you see a curve, just complete the circle and see if it makes sense. Yeah.
People believe that shit though. They look at that and like, look the curve.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there's amateur balloons that go up 120,000 feet and zero curve. Zero. You can't see shit. And you can watch that on YouTube all day. No curve.
Well, I tried.
No, but you know what, TJ? I love the fact that you're battling and debating. It's making the show
Yeah,
more
give us
interesting.
another one.
Give us
Do
another
another
one.
one. What else you
Come on,
got?
embrace your role. Pretend like you really hate flat Earth and you think we're dumb.
Well, I mean-
what's another point? Another point that you could bring up.
I would love to argue 9/11 with you, but you convinced me the day that we had Richard Gage in studio.
I told you, man.
That was something.
I try to tell everybody.
That was something.
Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. Richard Gage.
People
that's my
people
dude.
thought I was crazy in the early 2000s for preaching that marijuana was good for you, and they thought I was crazy. Now what?
It's a fact now.
What?
So let me ask you this. This is way off topic, and you don't have to spend any time on this any more than you want to. But I think testosterone is the new marijuana. For a long time, marijuana was stigmatized for being a party drug. I think testosterone has a lot of medical benefits, but everyone looks at it as just a steroid.
I agree with you, and steroids are flat. No, give us another question. Like, flat Earth doesn't make sense to me because what about this?
Oh, I'm curious. I mean, you say the elite, the Illuminati. Like, I'm curious what you think really makes the world go around. Like, who are the elite? What qualifies?
The people with all the money. I'm sure it has something to do with the international bankers. I'm sure it has something to do with the Rothschilds. Rothschilds could be a big, that could be a hoax. Maybe they created the Rothschilds so that we can be accusing the Rothschilds of this and that. Maybe there are no Rothschilds. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. But whoever has all the money, those are the ones that are controlling shit. I just call them the Illuminati. Maybe maybe they call themselves the Illuminati. Maybe they don't. Or you could say the elite. You could say the globalists. You can say the people running shit.
Do
The
they have
establishment.
Do they have anything to do with the Masons? Do you believe all that stuff?
Yeah, I think. Well, when all the astronauts are Freemasons, and it seems like, like Neil deGrasse Tyson's a Freemason. It seems like all the anybody who's internationally famous throughout time, I think they're part of. I don't think you can be internationally famous throughout time like Isaac Newton,
Right.
and Einstein. I think all those guys, they're part of the trick. They're part of the club. That's what I think.
Do you think that there are a lot of Masons, then a lot of Freemasons that are not actually in on the bit?
Yeah, the low level guys. Like,
Okay.
you say, I work for the UFC. The UFC is maybe, do you think the Fertitas brothers, when they owned the UFC, were telling their employees what was really going on? It's just like,
You think I tell the white belts what I'm going to do? White
Yeah.
belts have no idea what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I don't tell them. I don't even learn their names.
So-
let alone tell them what's going on.
All right, how about
I'm
this?
just kidding, white belts. I love you.
How about this? I'll bring it back to MMA for a brief moment. Pat Miletich is a Freemason. Michael Chavello is a Freemason.
They're probably low level.
I'm challenging him to a super fight right now. Pat, you and me, son. Bring your Freemason boys. I'm going to donkey guard you.
I think the people at the top, maybe it's not the Freemasons. I don't know. It's just it's a coincidence that all these famous people in positions of power, the astronauts, the Freemasons. I think there's a club like a Illuminati type club, and Freemasonry is part of that. Maybe there's a few clubs like that. Maybe it's not the only one, but an awful lot of fucking Freemasons are in positions of power. And then when you look at Albert Pike, he wrote, like in 1870s or something, he wrote the Freemason Bible, and it's talking about Lucifer and how that's the god they worship, and that's Satan. And
This is where I get lost with all this stuff. This is where you start losing me with all the, this guy said that. I'm like, dude, I don't care about any of that. I've never seen curvature. I've been high as fucking airplanes and on
It's all
mountains,
connected.
and
It's
it's
all
all
connected.
flat.
It's all
I
connected.
know, but that's what, again, that's where you lose me, man. Because words get distracting. You know what I'm saying? With what I've seen, I've never seen curvature. I've been high as fuck. You know what I'm saying? I've seen water, the way water works, just the things I can observe, I see flat earth. I hear a lot of talk and a lot of like Bible stories that also say flat earth. I hear a lot of like, this guy said this guy, this whatever, blah, blah, blah. What I see is what I see, man. And I see flat earth.
I'm curious. Have you guys ever looked into like string theory or John Titor? Have you ever heard of John Titor? Anybody?
Gav, string theory.
Yeah, I know string theory. Yeah, it's in the name, theory. Yeah.
Yeah, but have you guys ever heard about John Titor, the guy that showed up and
That
said he was a time traveler, posted some stuff
Oh, no,
online,
no.
predicted YouTube really before.
I believe it. I don't know why, but I do.
Like, do you think things like that could be
What is it,
real?
bro? Believe
Time
this guy.
traveling?
No, I think again we need to pull this back to what is practically, provable, what is observable. Trust your common senses. Go back to natural science. All the hearsay, imagery, and all these other things, they're the red herrings. They're there to distract us. So
Can I ask, are
I
you
don't
guys-
think you can find any real knowledge that way. So I agree with the. Sorry, I've forgotten your name.
If I was a
Go
shill,
back,
if I was
kill me.
if I was a paid shill, I'd go to flat Earth conventions and just like, constantly interrupt with like, "Do you think Bigfoot is real?
Well, okay. So let
Star Wars is real.
What about
man.
Loch Ness?"
let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this one.
I would be a great shill. I would
Oh,
be fucking
dude, you
shit
would
out.
crush the shit
I
out
would
of
say
that.
fuck. I would
man.
say flat Earth. I would somehow connect flat Earth to Bigfoot. I would make them like somehow.
Don't
jive.
give him any ideas,
Like
man.
it has everything to do with Bigfoot.
What
Anyways.
about aliens? You think that we're the only intelligent life?
Are you guys biblical flat earthers?
No.
No.
No, not at all. No, I'm not religious in any way, and I think the question needs to be shelved until we understand where we are. I do entertain thoughts about creation and where it comes from, and if we are created. But I've been an atheist all my life, and since I've looked at the flat Earth, then I do entertain more thoughts about that than I did before, which I think was part of the indoctrination to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But no, I'm not religious in any way.
Hey, you got to think about it though. If it's proved 100%, and we all accept it, the Earth's flat, the Bible was right. So that means there is a God. That means y'all's gonna have to go to church on Sunday again. So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
That's Sundays, man. That's like a 3 hours out of your day.
You say the Bible says that the Earth is flat. Do all religions believe that the Earth is flat?
I mean, they fight amongst themselves on that for
I
sure.
think
they wouldn't all agree with
as
that.
far as I know, I think all the ancient religions, the Mayans, the Hindus, I think they had a flat Earth model. I think that's why today we believe dumb people, religious people believe in flat Earth because they actually did. Is that correct? I'm not that sure. I think I saw an Eric Dubé video and he was talking about, or maybe it was Santos Bonacci. You guys know that guy? Santos Bonacci.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
You heard of him? He's really into tying Hinduism with flat Earth, and he's saying that they had it all like I don't know. I got to go back. It was late one night. I had too much seizure medication, and I got lost in some Hinduism and flat Earth. It was like, what is this?
Takes you into veganism. Flat Earth led me to vegan videos.
Are you serious? You said that earlier, Jeff. Is that true? Is that
Absolutely true.
true? Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Isn't Eric Dubé a vegan? All these guys, because I don't know, the flat Earth video leads you to people who are hiding great things from us and exposing horrible things to us. And one of them is the way they treat animals and the way they treat animals that we're eating. And then, I got baked. I saw that. I was very empathetic. And the next day I was like, dog, I'm not touching anything that has animals in it anymore.
Look at this.
Are you vegan now? You're
I'm
vegan?
trying and it's hard.
Are you guys vegan? You guys vegan at all?
Yeah, I've been vegan for about 3 years.
Oh shit! You
I'm
guys,
trying,
You
it's hard.
guys,
This is flat Earth lifestyle.
yeah.
Like, let's
Jiu-jitsu,
let-
flat
goes with
Earth.
jiu-jitsu very well.
I think we need to get in on the ground floor here and start making T-shirts and we can borrow the
Where's that
MMA
drink I
vibe.
had? Where's
Borrow
that
the
drink?
MMA vibe. We can do flat out clothing, like tap out, but flat out.
This
How about it, huh?
veganism, flat earth led me to this drink, basically turmeric. I was dying. My joints were killing me. I was doing jujitsu every day, and I was flat earthing, and I was learning about new diets. And I was like, what do I do? Why do my elbows, knees, wrists, ankles, every joint hurts? Not the muscles, the joints, dog. What do I do? And the guys, I did some research, and it led me to turmeric. Started taking turmeric every day, and I swear my joints haven't hurt since. I feel great.
This is one thing that I'm going to say, and this is why I believe that Flat Earth has a little tiny bit of legs.
We need you to be on the other side, TJ.
I'm sorry. I think you're all wrong. But that
Good,
said,
good, there you go.
That said, the speed at which the Earth is apparently turning, and like this was all brought to my attention with the stupid eclipse last week. How come we're not just flying off everything? That's what I don't understand. Like,
Exactly.
we're going way too fast.
600,000 miles
Right.
an hour. One way, 600,000 miles an hour. It's like being in a car, right? You're in a car inside of a ball. You're in a ball, but you're in a car. The car's going 600,000 miles an hour, right?
Right.
But you're spinning in that ball 1,000 miles an hour, and then you're skidding sideways 60,000 miles an hour.
See, I can't even get on the tilt-a-whirl.
Is that correct? Did I do that right? It's like you're going three
Yeah, that's approximately right.
three incredible motions at the same time, and we don't feel shit. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Let's pull it back to that. There's not one person on this earth that can claim that he can feel any spin whatsoever. And if you have to be able to trust your senses, right? If you didn't trust your senses, you would be a dead man within a week. You wouldn't be able to cross the road. You wouldn't be able to feed yourself. You'd miss your mouth when you tried to drink a cup of water.
Yes.
So, if you deny that your senses actually, that you can trust them, then you're on to buns, as they say in Scotland. Yeah, it's a completely fallacious argument. So the fact that nobody here on this earth can even feel themselves spinning is also proof enough that we aren't.
You would think like every now and then, I mean, they claim we're going 600,000 miles an hour one way. And to me, it's 600,000 miles an hour is 600,000 miles an hour. It isn't like, oh, no, in space time, it's actually barely moving or
Like,
something.
when are we gonna
It's
hit the
600,000
wall?
miles an hour.
When do you come to the end of the road?
You know, the crazy thing about it is people have no problem believing in endless balls and endless planets, endless balls. No problem. Like, oh, yeah, the universe is endless balls. But when you say endless plane, oh, that's ridiculous. How could there be anything, an endless plane? No, but endless balls. Yes, endless balls. That's fine. No, they have no problem. Anything that Neil deGrasse Tyson said, he could just say, the Earth is actually a pear. And people are like, okay, the Earth is actually a pear. The Earth is a pear. Did you hear the Earth's a pear? Neil deGrasse Tyson said it's a pear. And people just believe that shit. It's incredible.
Where's the picture?
It's a pear now. It's
Show
a
me this pair.
Can you say endless balls like 3 more times?
Hey, you
please?
know what? Can you find that Neil deGrasse Tyson pear Earth? Find that and play that shit.
I'll grab it real quick. I think this is why people believe in endless things is whether or not you believe
Not on an endless plane.
Yeah,
endless balls,
well,
yes. Endless
sure,
plane.
but infinite possibilities have to be accepted by human beings because no matter what, something always was. Whether we were created by something or whether we just happened from a big bang, you can't tell me that there was a beginning of time. Time always just
the Big
existed.
Bang. The Big Bang Theory sounds like a retard came up with that.
Really?
Right? Big Bang. Like,
Why?
Did everything exploded?
Sounds like when you bust a nut.
The Big Bang, and people jump onto that. The big, everything just exploded.
See,
Has to do with sex.
It was a big fucking explosion.
but there's a bunch of there's a bunch of gas and stuff in space.
That's what I'm talking about,
that would-
TJ.
that would
That's
ex-
exactly what I'm talking about.
That would explain why stars are on fire.
Who knows what those things are? Those are lights.
Well,
Here's the problem.
How does something come from nothing?
Yeah.
Exactly, we're human beings, so we can't wrap our heads around that.
But it's
if
true.
if you don't believe in God, or you do believe in God, God always just was. And if you don't believe in God, something always just was.
No, you know what? You guys don't know it yet, but you guys are gonna have to find your first communion shoes, dust them off. You guys are gonna have to start going to church. All you guys, if flat Earth is true, get those first communion shoes out now. It's happening.
Hey,
if the Earth is flat and the lights over us are revolving around us, and we're the center of the universe, if that's true,
Yeah, I'd
if
love to
that's
hear what
true,
these guys have to say about this.
damn, we might. There is a creator. It might not be that bearded guy hanging out in the clouds with Jesus. It might not be that dude, but there is a. I believe even before flat Earth, I believed in a creator. I was brought up Catholic, hardcore, was an altar boy. I just wanted to go to heaven, and then once I learned that not everybody was Catholic. I thought everybody was Catholic. Everybody in my neighborhood was Catholic, and mostly everybody in my elementary school were Catholic, except for there was a Protestant guy and there was a Jehovah's Witness guy. I didn't know what the fuck they were, but everybody was a Catholic. And then once I found out there was Jews and Muslims and all these other religions, right there at 11, I thought, okay, we've been lied to. There's no way all these different religions can think they're right. We've been brainwashed. So then I became atheist until I turned 21. And at 21, I was standing in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard in front of the Roxy, and I was walking by the Roxy with my buddy John, and we were about to go to the Rainbow, and there was this homeless bum dude playing guitar in front of the Roxy, and he had this sign that was all about saving the forest, and he was just dirty, just a dirty bum, just trying to save the world and save the forest. And John was probably about 20 yards behind me, and I walked by him, and I kind of looked at him. I had my long hair down to my waist. It took me 30 minutes to blow dry. I had my big hoop earrings in. 1991, I was full blown. I was about as metal as you can get. And I looked at this homeless dude playing guitar, and he walked up to me and he said, "Hey man, if I guess your birthday, will you sit here and listen to me?" And I said, "Yeah, go for it." And he said, May 5th, May 15th. And I'm like, what the fuck? How did this guy guess my birthday? So I wasn't convinced at that. So I said, John, John, come here. I said, guess his birthday. And he looked at him and he said, March 31st. And right there, I'm like, holy shit. What are the odds that he guesses both our birthdays? This homeless dude?
Well, it's
So from that point on, I knew there was something else. There was some kind of dimension that either some spirit told him the answer, or he could read my mind, and there's some stuff that we can't see that he can see, and he had some powers. I didn't know how to explain it. I mean, what are the odds that a guy comes up to you and guesses you and your birthday? Your
1 in 365.
No, twice though.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
That's twice in a row, back to back. That it's astronomical.
I got your Neil.
But anyways, let me finish my story. You
Sure.
can put that on a hold. But then I became agnostic. From that point on, I thought, damn, I never forgot about that day. I never forgot. There's some shit we don't know. Because up to that point, I was like, we're gonna die and just go in the dirt. We came from nothing. I believed in Big Bang. I was a space documentary junkie. I'd watch space Science Channel, Discovery, all that shit. I just wanted to watch space shit. Neutron star, supermassive black hole, all this shit. Fucking 200,000 light years away. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Light years, holy shit. And then I became agnostic. And then once I did DMT and I went into the other dimensions, I knew, okay, there is a creator. Once you do DMT, you're like, oh shit, this is just like a little vacation for us. There's another dimension. When you do DMT or ayahuasca, you go into that other dimension. People say, "Oh, it's in your head." I didn't create that. Trust me. If I had to create something, it wouldn't look nothing like this. It would look like shit. I can't even draw a stick figure. And so at that point, I knew there's got to be a creator, right? So you could, I'm not trying to preach or anything like that. So for me, flat Earth, if it just even proves more that, to me, not just to me, I'm not trying to convince anybody, to me, there is a creator. This is just verifying it even more. This is a special place that we're at. If the stars or those lights are rotating around
But you don't
us.
think it's Jesus in the Bible story, Abraham story.
No, not. I don't. I think it's anything like that.
But you don't.
I
But you
think
also
it's
don't
like-
throw that idea out the window either.
No, I think those. I think like that God and Jesus and all those biblical stories. I think it's a Jack and Jill way to explain like to kids.
Like
what I mean?
allegories.
Yeah, it's like like metaphors and stuff like that.
Do you think it's all relatively the same language, but things get
It also
lost in
says kill
translation?
homosexuals
homosexuals in those
Yeah.
books too. So
Yeah.
Well-
yeah. I know, of course. Most of the stuff in the Bible, of course, when you could kill someone
But-
for charging interest in like the Old Testament and that kind of shit.
Well, let's just say that religion is real, 100% verifiable. It's real.
but what
It's-
religion? What religion?
It doesn't really matter because my point is like if you have a story and it's passed down from generation to generation, it's like if I tell Jeff something, he goes and tells someone on the street, and it's a big game of telephone.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about telephone with different languages. So all of a sudden, some guy's going to tell the story. He's like, you know what? I don't really like gay people. So I'm going to go tell him to kill all the gay people. I'll
Yeah.
write that down in the story.
Yeah,
And now it's
exactly.
been passed over, for 1,000 years, and it looks nothing like the original message.
Yeah. Play that Neil deGrasse Tyson.
All right.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens
Can you
out.
start it like from the top?
wide.
Like just from the top.
Wider in
top
the
of
middle.
it. So you're right there. It's
So
like 10 seconds
Earth,
into it.
throughout its life, even when it formed,
okay,
it
that's
was
good.
spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere; it's oblate, and officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But
It's killing me.
Can you just play it?
I'm playing it.
Oh, okay.
It's just buffering.
TJ, you had one
Start
job,
over.
bro. You had one job.
it's
I have
slightly
many
wider
jobs.
below the equator than above the equator.
Man, this is
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
Let me start it over.
So,
He said the key component. already.
so
That was it.
Yeah.
He said pear-shaped. We all heard him say it. I saw him say it. Keeling, my friend back here who doubts flat Earth, did you see that?
Yeah, it's
That's your
pear.
dude right there. He said
Yeah,
pear-shaped.
he said pear-shaped.
Show me this pear-shaped. Pull up your phone on your Google and show me this pear-shaped Earth, please. I'll wait.
How about the picture? Man, maybe you could find this. Jesus, maybe it'll work. There's video of the eclipse, the shadow going across. They got a video of the Earth, and then they show the eclipse, the shadow.
The one that
go
looks
across.
just
It
really
goes-
fake, right?
It goes across. Yeah, it goes across like a shadow, like a black
I
spot.
seen
goes-
this. I seen this.
Man, I can't believe they're
It's
releasing
so
that
fake.
kind
I
of stuff.
can't- yeah.
If I was in the Illuminati, I would fire whoever fucking released that shit.
Why? Nobody's gonna do
I would
anything. They don't care
suicide.
anymore. At
I
this
would
point, they're
suicide.
just like, look, we're gonna just put this shit
They would
out.
get-
There's like 10 dudes who know about it. Like Eddie Bravo is like one of the 10, and then nobody gives a fuck. So they just put it out. Nobody cares.
What,
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
What do I search to find this?
Yeah, forget it. It doesn't even matter.
This
Well, you know
is-
what?
This is what my friend pulled up on his. Tell me what you think of that.
It looks great.
Is it shaped like a pear? What is this?
That's an egg. Now it looks like an egg.
And Keeling, this isn't. This is also actually. Yeah.
Hey, can you find Don
So this is like
Pettit
a real one.
destroy technology? Say it. Put Don
Thank you.
Pettit destroy technology. Let's see if that pops up. That's a great video. I mean,
Yeah, where he says we destroyed the telemetry data.
no,
and
he
it's
just says we
painful to bring it
destroyed.
back.
He just said that's it right there. Just play any of those. See if it works. Do you have internet that
I
actually
can go
works?
to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I mean, that doesn't mean anything to you, TJ?
I
They
don't-
destroyed-
Why would we have destroyed the technology?
Exactly.
I don't understand that. There was millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Put in. That
I
doesn't
would
make
go
any sense.
back to the moon in a nanosecond, is what he said. Except we destroyed the technology. You heard it? You heard it?
He looked medicated. That's all I want to say. He didn't look well.
Dude, the Illuminati should suicide that guy.
the suicide him.
He's fucking them up. Anyways, did you guys hear any of that?
No, I couldn't hear anything.
Sorry. So they're not able to hear.
They didn't hear any of that. They should have. That's weird.
I've seen it. I've seen it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one real conspiracy theory for you.
Okay. What?
Pro wrestling. I heard it's fake.
pro wrestling is they're taking the model from our government. It's basically the same thing.
Well, I think that mixed martial arts has actually taken the model of pro wrestling to run itself. There's no difference between the UFC and the WWE. There's a lot of similarities, a ton of them.
There's major differences, TJ. You're losing me.
Really?
Yeah,
There's like
pro
one
wrestling is
one
100% fake.
No.
MMA
Yeah.
is
But the business
probably
model.
99% real.
The business model. Well, I'm curious to hear about your 1% at some point. But the business model, like there's
Takada Coleman.
there's one dominant league. You look at the similarities. What the WWE purchased and bought out all of their competition. The UFC largely did that.
Okay, we're gonna get back to flat Earth though.
That's not surprising. Yeah.
Man,
What about assassinations? What about like CIA assassinations?
that happens all the time.
That's
So-
nothing new.
Well,
That's nothing new. That's low level conspiracy theory.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that's what I
curious
thought.
about like. So let me just ask you this: what do you think about Donald Trump? Is he part of the conspiracy, or is he the maverick that some people want you to believe that he's not in on the bit and he's fucking
I
everything
I
up?
want to hear what they say about
He's
that.
probably. It's hard to tell. It could be a whole show. I mean, it appears that he's the establishment is going after him. The media is clearly going after him. They're balls out, just going after, trying to start
You can
race
find
wars.
videos of him saying he's down with flat Earth.
Really?
Yes.
Trump?
I've seen these
No
before
way.
I even got into flat Earth. There was videos of him saying like, "I don't think the Earth is round. They're lying to us about that.
No
they lie
way.
about everything, dude.
No
I'm telling
way.
you." I
Have you
was like-
guys heard this? That Trump said something about that he thought the Earth was flat. Have you heard about this? You have? Dell?
Sorry?
Damn, it's true.
No, I haven't heard that. No.
Dude, you need to look that up. See if you can find Trump
All right.
believes flat Earth. Trump flat Earth. Come on.
I do know that people think he is a part of conspiracy theories. Which
Yeah.
one's not?
Yeah, I got it over
Exactly.
here.
I'm curious what foreigners think.
Trump flat Earth. Let's see if we got that.
Or just conspiracy theorists.
Hey, I'm curious how Trump is portrayed in the media for you guys, Gavin Dell. Like, how much do you hear about Trump and his politics where you guys are?
Too much as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I assume they go after him
Yeah,
the
we-
same way there.
No, I don't think so. I think he tends to be probably handled more with kid gloves over here in European TV. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've got no real opinion of him. I don't think he's any better or worse than any of the other ones. So
Yeah.
All right, hey, I got this. Check this out.
I think if you choose a side, if you like them or you don't like them, they got you. They tricked you.
Oh, it's all words? Dang. Never mind, it's all words. Don't worry about
You
that.
guys, Gavin, what do you, before we wrap this up, what do you have to say to people that are on the fence about the whole flat Earth thing? They're really not convinced. They're like, TJ, any final thoughts you want to let out?
well, I think people should just again, I'll repeat it, go back to trusting their senses, thinking about common sense. Using natural science to prove what's measurable, testable, repeatable, learning to see through the sophistry. So learn how language works, logic, rhetoric, grammar. Make sure that you have the right tools to see through bullshit, and only rely on things that you can prove for yourself. Be very wary of third-party testimony, and certainly don't look at any imagery as if it's proof of anything.
Beautiful. Dell?
Well said.
Yeah, I would just concur exactly what Gav said.
Apparently, there is no video of Donald Trump saying that the Earth is flat. Plastered is found.
Come on, Jeff. That would have been huge. That would have been in every mixtape, flat Earth mixtape.
Didn't he go on Alex Jones too?
He did go on Alex Jones way back in the day, though. He won't do that now. But
No, I seen him talking about it.
what do you guys think of Alex Jones?
Has he still got a reality show? His own reality show?
No, not Trump. No, that's gone. That's gone. You guys ever listen to Alex Jones? Never.
I used to listen to him when, say 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I used to think a lot of the things he said were true, and like most of these people, there's half-truths and truths and a half that hide the real truth. So some of the stuff he said I thought was correct at the time. Looking back now, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Really, like what stuff was he saying that turned you off?
Oh, I can't remember anymore. I think he's fear-mongering. There's always a lot of that involved in making people scared, and, a lot of unverifiable stories, again, hearsay, things that you can't prove for yourself. So that switched me off at some point. I guess I just matured out of it.
I see where you're coming from. I think when it comes to Alex Jones, he's a friend of mine. I've been on his show a couple times. And there's people that think he's a shill, and he's working for the Israel. He's protecting the Jews and all that stuff. And who knows what's true? I don't know him that well. I don't know everything about him. But one thing I do know for sure is when I hang out with him, when we hang out, we've been to Vegas together, hanging out. He is the exact same way he is on his pod or his show. Conspiracy theories 100% of the time. He's talking about, he never gets tired, but he's the exact same person all the way through the whole weekend. And I'm just eating it up. I just want to hear about different conspiracy theories. And he's on he stays away from UFOs, and he stays away from flat Earth, and he stays away from like the Holocaust and all that. And I think if he's not a shill, I don't think he is. I really don't. I just think that everybody is an expert, like all these conspiracy theorists. They spend all this time on certain conspiracy theories, and that's their baby. And they don't really want to talk about any other conspiracy because it might discredit what they put their life into. Like if someone's really into JFK and he knows everything about JFK, he might not really, he's not going to get into other conspiracy theories that he's not well versed in, because it could discredit the point he's trying to get across. You know what I mean? So
I can understand that.
You know what I mean? Because
I've never met the man, so you've got a better take on that.
One thing for sure is he is on the.
I found the Donald Trump part. If you
let me see, play Donald Trump.
He says,
Is it a video?
I fly a lot. If the Earth was round, I would know it.
Oh, okay. Then there's no video. There's no video of him.
A lot. No one flies more than me. Listen, I got my own jet. It's the best plane in the world. If it were round, believe me, I would know. The comments came in response to question from AP reporter Charles blah blah blah.
I'd have to see video of him saying that.
And
anytime there's written words.
Dude, I found all these. Look at this motherfucker.
Then I need a video. You need a video.
No, but I mean, you'll find. I mean, I'm not gonna pull it up and be all loud right now.
No, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we can find video.
Silent.
Yeah, you need to find the video. You can't. Can't be
Jeff
worded.
Glover's Donald Trump sort of sounds like Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah. How were we just? Oh no, about Alex Jones again, real quick. When you find a video, let me know. With Alex Jones, it's like there's people out there that believe. We've been raised and conditioned to, you can't question the Holocaust, and you can't. You'll be anti-Semitic.
It's a thought crime.
It's a thought crime. In some countries, you can get thrown in jail. You know how that exists? Like we've been brought up with. You better not say anything about the Jews, or we're going to ruin your life, right? You guys aware of that? It worked, right? Gav, it worked, right? You got to be careful about that stuff, right?
As slavery.
Yeah, as far as I know, there's lots of countries where you need to be very careful, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful. It could, even in the United States where even in the United States where you can't get thrown in jail. I mean, you're not going to get thrown in jail, but if you make enough noise, they can come after you and ruin your life, right? You guys aware of that?
For sure.
They've done it. So if you're really into flat Earth, or maybe you're really into JFK and trying to prove that, or 9/11, and you're trying to convince someone who's not into 9/11, you're trying to convince them into 9/11, it wouldn't be a good idea to start getting into your beliefs on the Holocaust right off the top of the bat, right? Because you ain't never going to get to 9/11. They're not going to believe you. Do you understand what I'm saying? As soon as you start talking about what happened in the Holocaust and what you believe, then your 9/11 speech ain't going to work. And your JFK speech, your Iran-Contra speech is not going to work. Your pedophilia sex trafficking ring is not going to work. People criticize
is
Alex.
that your rationale why Alex Jones doesn't discuss the flat Earth? Or
Yes, because if he's trying, he's working. He's working. If you're working on I know someone personally that's really, really high in a certain conspiracy theory. And this guy's basically. Man, I don't want to give it away, but he's a total flat earther. But he cannot talk about it, and he tells me, please don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. I got to get my message through. He's on a mission. He's got a certain mission, and if he brought up flat Earth, he's going to lose. At this point,
Is it Joe
at
Rogan?
This point,
Is it uncomfortable to say that? I'm sorry.
at this point, flat Earth, Holocaust stuff, it still will turn people off right away. Right away, you're not going to be able to get your point across. And there's people that handle their business that way. They won't bring up certain things because it will discredit them in the other thing that they're trying to push. And I think with Alex Jones, he's working on the conspiracy theories on the, Charlottesville was a false flag, Boston bombing, whatever, getting Trump, he's on a mission to stomp out Hillary, right? He's on a he's on a mission to stomp out the Democrats, the liberals, right? So let's just say he didn't believe in, he thinks, let's say deep down he knows that North Korea is just a distraction and they're not going to launch any missiles and all that. He knows that. But he'll use that because people believe that he has nuclear weapons and he's going to launch them. So he'll use that to go after the Clintons, because then he'll say the Clintons are the ones that sold them the nuclear weapons, but he knows they probably don't even have nuclear weapons. So he's got certain things that he pushes to get his agenda across, instead of trying to sit there and spend an hour trying to convince people that North Korea don't even have nuclear bombs and they're just a big distraction. So my point is, I think when you compare what Alex Jones is saying on his show compared to all the mainstream media outlets, there is a lot of bullshit, that nothing's 100% true. But even if he's 50% right on and 50% he's exaggerating on some shit and he's just fear mongering, it's way more the truth. There's way more truthful stuff on InfoWars than there is in any other these mainstream media outlets. You understand what I'm saying? So he's like the gatekeeper. Like, if you could believe in Alex Jones conspiracy theories and Hillary and Bill Clinton and their shenanigans and their gangsters, that's what he's saying. I mean, Alex Jones constantly says the Clintons are gangsters, they're corrupt. He's constantly, every day about that. He's going on and on
if
about.
If he goes flat Earth, he'll be out of business.
Exactly. And if at this point, people are really sensitive about flat Earth. They get really, really mad. So right now, it's like, he's thinking, why would I get into UFOs and the fucking moon landings and all that shit when I'm trying to get the Clintons out of politics? You know what I mean? So maybe he is a shill. I'm not saying he isn't. I don't know if he is or isn't. He's cool to me. He's a friend of mine, and I known him, and I partied with him. We went out, we drank, and we had a good time together. And he's the exact same guy, same voice. He talks about he can go conspiracy theories all night, without. He'll wake up in the morning and call you, and then have breakfast and still conspiracy theories. So my point is, I think that. Everybody needs to understand that everyone's got their own little mission. There's a lot of levels. It's not just flat Earth. Flat Earth is huge, and I'm all over it. You know me. But I understand that people have other agendas. I understand that, and just because they're not in line with your agenda doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting paid by Israel and their shills. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I feel about that. I like to let that out. I mean, I could be wrong. Alex Jones might be getting paid by someone to say shit, and I know he definitely. I don't like it when he's going on and fear mongering about North Korea, because I got my personal beliefs about North Korea. I think that's North Korea is just a complete distraction. They don't have. I don't even know if that Jung Hung Un is even in North Korea. He might be in Switzerland living. Who knows what those films really are? Have you seen those North Korean films? Watch that shit one night. Look into North Korea.
Maybe that's Area 51. Maybe that's what they're covering up at Area 51.
It's fascinating.
What scares me, one thing that you hit on, Eddie, that does scare me is the ability to push agendas on behalf of our government with CGI and things like that. Like, there's going to be a time, maybe it's already now, that the government or whomever could make a video and create a supervillain and say they're taking over the world and show video clips, and we would have no idea if any
exactly.
of it's real.
I mean, the Nazis did that. The Nazis they created a fake hysteria. There's a propaganda video. They just wanted to get people okay with killing people.
Right. Yeah.
So what they did is they created this fake problem with demented people, like crazy, deranged people from mental institutions that were going out like zombies, killing people. And they would put these newsreels out, and people in Germany were like, "Oh shit, there's these crazy people out killing people. So we need to okay to kill them." So it was okay to kill them if there's these crazy, demented people that escaped mental institutions, it's okay to put them down. So that's what they wanted to get across. It was just a mind fuck. So now they got everybody on board. So now all they got to do, whenever they want to get rid of someone, they just accuse him of being mentally unstable and he's crazy and we got to kill him. So that's just an example of creating some fake shit. Like exactly what you're saying. There was just an example of just making shit up.
And people, I mean, look at how people surf the web and like clickbait and things like that. Like, people are attracted to unbelievable stories and things that are scary. So it's not hard for something to be put on the internet that is not at all accurate and become viral and scare the shit out of people.
Yeah, that's what's going on all the time. Like, one person died in Charlottesville. One person died. We got people getting killed every day in East LA. Drive-bys every day in Chicago. People are getting killed all the time. Innocent children getting killed all the time. What about 1 million civilians getting killed in Iraq? What about that? No one gives a shit about that.
The Charlottesville stuff, though, is way more. It's bigger. It's bigger than just one person dying.
It was a setup. It was a false flag.
See, that I'd love to talk about that all day long.
Yeah,
I would love to hear the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. You know, they're trying to start a race war. That's what they're trying to do.
Who?
The liberals.
Guys,
the liberals.
I'm going to have to wrap up and get off here shortly.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We're done too. Any final thoughts? Any final words you want to say?
Just like you were saying in regards to Alex Jones and people having their own avenues of pursuit, that's the very same here for us at Beyond the Imaginary Curve. We remove any other subject. For us, we focus purely on science and this very question. And if anybody's interested and wants to join the common man's pursuit of finding out full dimensions of Earth, then please join us on Beyond the Imaginary Curve. Awesome. We're there every Saturday live, and anybody's free to join, whether you believe that it's flat, concave, globe. As long as any claims that anybody's making is based in objective truth and it can be proven practically, then we don't have any issues. So it's been a pleasure, Eddie. I can only thank you for giving us a place to voice and hopefully bring more people's attention to this question.
Thank you very much. Gav?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks as well, Eddie, for having us on and letting us air our message or what we feel to be the correct avenue. And I wish you best of luck too with your friend who you're doing the donations for. I hope that works out for him.
Thank you for that, yeah.
And thanks for having us on.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk soon.
Cheers.
I'll be watching you on that imaginary curve. I'll be watching. I love that. More interviews. More of them. I love them.
Active inquiry and dismantling beliefs. That's the best way forward.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Hey, one more time for the donations for Javi Vasquez.
Yep, it is tiny.cc/tap cancer.
Thank you very much, guys. Jeff Glover, you're the man. Thank you very
Eddie.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
James Watson, Black and Kill Symphony. We're gonna have a reunion tour.
James.
We're gonna do it.
Go, James.
TJ, thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you got something out of this. If not, go smoke a joint and relax. Thank you, guys. Good night.